Donkey Kong Bananza demonstrates Nintendo's 3D platforming chops at its most bonkers, bananas, and brilliant. The best thing I can say about Donkey Kong Bananza is that immediately after my 3-hour hands-on preview session, I went home to play Super Mario Odyssey and quickly made note of how different both games are from one another, despite, yes, being made by the same creative team. This is a 3D action platformer from one of the best first-party development houses to ever do it, but that doesn't mean Nintendo is resting on its laurels or repeating the same old tricks that have worked before. In fact, what Donkey Kong Bananza does best is to unabashedly be Donkey Kong, leaning into the character's inherent destructive strengths like never before and using them to have players explore, collect, and bash around in a whole new way. So far, from what I played, the 26-year wait for a full-fat Donkey Kong game has been more than worth it. As noted from my time playing the game during the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience event, picking up rocks, throwing them at enemies and scenery, and merely digging into the surrounding surfaces is fun at its purest in Donkey Kong Bananza. What I left that short demo still wondering, however, was what else Nintendo had up its sleeve to make pulling off such destructive acts meaningful. We've had a Nintendo Direct deep dive since then, where it was revealed that it's a younger Pauline joining DK on this adventure to descend into the planet's core, with additional gameplay-changing Bananza forms brought into the mix, and multiple reasons to seek out the seemingly never-ending pile of Banandium gems. This time around, during my hands-on demo, I was given the chance to explore 3 different layers: Lagoon, Canyon, and Forest, all of which riff on a different environmental theme and present so many excuses to stay distracted from the main path. Chief amongst them is the core act of destruction itself, whereby DK isn't in any way limited by pretty much any obstacle before him, thanks to the ability to smash forward, dig down, and throw out heavy chunks of rock. I was pleased to discover that such malleability isn't endless in that Minecraft sort of way though. Every major layer has a beginning and end, with multiple sub-layers and challenge gates to explore in between. It's not merely chaos for chaos's sake. That simply wouldn't be Nintendo's style. The first layer, Lagoon, is definitely more of a starter tutorial area, but this isn't to say it doesn't have its own worthwhile allure. At this point in the game, DK hasn't even realized that the purple rock companion on his shoulder is little Pauline yet, which means it's easy to bandy about from the starting mining area and up through the seaside-like surface as you see fit, helping all of DK's monkey co-workers to unleash 3 spouts of water in order to wash away most of the purple gunk underneath that's plaguing the lagoon. Doing this gave me a great excuse to get used to climbing, swimming, and working out exactly which surfaces I could break through easily versus those I couldn't. Although I got to play Donkey Kong Bananza for 3 hours, I lost count of how many times I had to remind myself to progress to main objectives, since there are so many opportunities available elsewhere, all vying for your attention. I felt this most when exploring the Canyon Lair, which is about as dusty and cavernous as you'd expect in visual terms, but was absolutely caked in hidden fossils to discover, shops where you can buy new outfits for DK and Pauline, and of course, specific challenges. The ultimate goal of any lair is to foil the plans of new enemy group, the Void Company. But on a systems level, it's worth trying to seek out as many Banandium gems as possible, as for every 5 you collect, you gain a skill point which can then be used to upgrade either vanilla DK or one of his Bananza forms. Speaking of which, I got to test out 2 of the 5 teased, and I'm pleased to report that both Kong and Ostrich transformations have their exclusive uses. The latter comes in useful when wanting to glide hard to reach areas from high up locations, while Kong makes it much easier to bash and crash through cement, one of the hardest materials, and take on bigger enemies much faster. Bananza transformations can only be activated after gathering up enough gold, which seems like a fine, if fairly unexciting use for the currency, since there is always so much more gold ore to pick up. I never felt like I was left wanting. Sure, some is lost upon death, but even that comes rarely in a game where you can dig and climb up to almost any platform. The Canyon Lair is capped off with 2 back-to-back boss fights, which though a tad simple, were pretty inventive in terms of how to take them down. The first was against a fellow miner called Grumpy Kong, wherein I was challenged with breaking through multiple layers of the podium on which he stood to get in plenty of punches. A bit more cinematic, meanwhile, was the giant Mad Mixer, which saw me forced to circle it via minecart while launching large chunks of rock between its defensives. Both set-piece sequences were relatively straightforward, but it didn't diminish the thrill of taking them down using the new skills I acquired. Finally, while the Forest Lair certainly looked appealing, this was the area I was afforded to explore the least, although it did give me the chance to sample a handful of 2D sequences. Presented as part of the optional challenge gate opportunities, they definitely pay tribute to the classic Donkey Kong Country days, mostly evidenced by the return of blasting barrels. But the fact that you maintain the ability to dig down and break off lumps of rock within them definitely helps give them a new flavour. If nothing else, it's a sign that Donkey Kong Bananza will have a good amount of variety in all of its bite-sized challenge levels that sit within each layer, both in terms of perspective as well as the gameplay mechanics themselves. Though it might sound like hyperbole, I came away from my 3-hour Donkey Kong Bananza preview the most excited I've been for a first-party Nintendo game in a long time. While there's been plenty of greatness added to the Switch library in recent years, very few have been able to match this upcoming game's sense of invention, creativity, and pure unbridled joy. It's a game about destruction, yes, but the amazing things it can lead to are almost always something wonderful and imaginative. There are things to find and reasons to explore sprinkled around every corner, and really, who are we to prevent gaming's most beloved ape from finding his banana? For the first time since 2017, the Nintendo 3D platformer has seriously leveled up. So there you have it in terms of my preview thoughts of Donkey Kong Bananza. What do you think? Do you plan on picking this one up? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Then consider subscribing to the All Out Gaming YouTube channel to stay up to date with even more videos like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.